Welcome to this Oracle CloudWorld session. We're going to cover multi-cloud development with Azure and Oracle Database Cloud. My name is Alex Key. I'm a product manager here at Oracle. And with me as a co-presenter is Christian Shay. He's also a product manager here at Oracle. So we're going to cover several things in this session, and this is going to have quite a few demos in it. So we're going to show you all about the integration that Oracle Autonomous Database and Oracle Database Cloud has with Azure and with common Microsoft tooling such as Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. To begin with, we'll talk about the partnership that Oracle has with Microsoft on our clouds, how we hook our clouds together, what we're doing, and a recent announcement in which we have made it much easier to hook together an Oracle Autonomous Database or Oracle Database in the Oracle Cloud with Microsoft Azure. And then we'll start talking about specific technologies, Visual Studio Code tools with Oracle Autonomous Database, Visual Studio tools with Oracle Autonomous Database. And then we'll wrap up with doing a demo of using Azure Web Apps with an Oracle Autonomous Database and how to hook those two together and get your multi-cloud integration going. So let's begin with the partnership that Oracle and Microsoft have. So about 3 years ago, Microsoft and Oracle announced this partnership to forge our closer ties for our mutual customers. We saw a lot of customers doing multi-cloud. They found things in the Oracle Cloud they like to use, such as Oracle Autonomous Database, Oracle Applications, and they also found things in the Microsoft Cloud, Microsoft Azure, that they like using, things like Power BI and web apps. And they often requested, how do we get these two clouds working together so that we can have these end-to-end applications work very well performantly, securely, and all the benefits they would like to see from the cloud. So, that was kind of the impetus for this partnership. And since that time, we've been growing that partnership ever since with new services. One of those recent services is the Oracle Database Service for Azure. And we introduced that this summer, and what it allows you to do is provision, access, and operate an Oracle Database service in the Oracle Cloud with an Azure-like experience. So if you are an Azure app developer and you're used to using Azure, you'll be able to use an Azure-like experience to create an Oracle database in the Oracle Cloud, and then be able to access that Oracle database. And I'll talk a little bit more in a couple of slides about this new Oracle Database Service for Azure, but it's something we're very excited about to make it easier and simpler and just reduce the friction in getting to an Oracle Cloud and Microsoft Azure working together very simply for developers. Other benefits that we have in the Oracle Azure relationship that a lot of our mutual customers are seeing are that we offer a direct interconnect between our two clouds. And what a direct interconnect is just a direct pipe between the Oracle data center in the Oracle Cloud and the Microsoft Azure data center in their cloud. And the reason why you would like that we would like to have that is that having that direct interconnect gives you faster performance. It's more secure because your data never touches the public internet. It's always in this direct interconnect connectivity. And then on the Oracle side, you don't get charged for any ingress or egress charges for your data, so that you know that it's not only secure, but it's also cost effective. And what you'll see is that you get less than 2 milliseconds latency going between the two clouds with this direct interconnect. So it's a very key benefit for those who want high performing applications running between Oracle and Microsoft clouds. Additional benefits that Oracle and Microsoft have in our partnership is that from an identity standpoint, user identity, you'll be able to log in to, say, your Azure Active Directory account or your Oracle Cloud account, or even your local Active Directory account on Windows, and then be able to have that identity shared between all three of them. So you can go from Azure Active Directory to your local Active Directory that your corporation might have, and then also Oracle Cloud Infrastructure will be able to recognize you so that your identity can be used across services, and that makes it simpler for your end users because they can use single sign-on to any one of those and then be identified by all of them. It also makes administration easier because then you can obviously just have one set of users to manage among all the three sets of identity services. And very importantly, we have collaborative support so that you can call either Microsoft support or Oracle support, and we'll mutually work on any issues you have working between our clouds. So there's a multifaceted benefits in our clouds working together. But since this is mostly a database talk, let's focus a bit on the Oracle database service for Azure, which was released recently. And again, one of the key benefits of this and that we think customers really benefit from is that as an Azure user, you'll be able to deploy an Oracle database in the Oracle Cloud with an Azure-like experience. So it's using an Azure-like UI, and and very importantly, it will automate your cloud connectivity so that if there is a direct connect available between the two clouds, you'll automatically get that. That way, it really simplifies the direct connect creation process. So instead of having to create that on the Oracle side and the Microsoft side, with say Fast Connect, things like that, you'll have this automatically created for you, and it will be free. It'll be included as part of the service. It won't cost extra for you to use, which is another benefit, is that it's automated, that it's set up for you, and it's at no additional cost. It just comes with the service when you connect the two clouds together. And then that gives by having that direct interconnect, you have that direct access between the Oracle database in our Oracle Cloud and your Azure app, so that if you have an Azure web app or you have, say, Power BI, and you want to access the Oracle database, you have that fast connectivity to the Oracle database, and it's secure, of course, too. And no ingress egress charges on the Oracle side. And of course, lastly, a benefit is that you get all the high performance, high availability, automated management of Oracle database services, especially if you're using Oracle Autonomous Database. The manageability of that is automated, performance management is automated, patching is automated, so that you don't have to do a lot of the common DBA tasks that was part of a traditional role of maintaining a database. That gets largely automated away, and you can focus on building the business logic in your application. So those are kind of the three key benefits we see that we can bring with this Oracle Database service for Azure. And the places we recommend that you use this, that you can, or the places that we think that will be most common to use will be where our Oracle and Microsoft have interconnected regions. So in these 11 locations around the world, these are you'll have a Oracle data center and an Azure data center. So if you say are in the Phoenix region, or your application for your Azure app is in the Phoenix region, you can create an Oracle Autonomous Database in the same region, and they'll be very close together, so they'll have very low latency, and that'll be best for performance for your application if you choose a data center from Oracle and Microsoft, that data centers that are close together. So we're opening up more data centers as time goes on, so you'll see this map fill out more and more, but it's just an indication of our growing partnership. And with that, let me turn that over to Christian so that he can talk about Visual Studio Code's integration with Oracle Autonomous Database and how you can get your .NET apps working, or your Java apps, or whatever you use with Visual Studio Code.
That's right. Thanks a lot, Alex. Right. So if you're a developer, you're working on Azure apps, you're probably using one of a couple IDEs. And so I'm going to introduce those IDEs and what Oracle offers developers in those development environments. So the first one we'll talk about is Visual Studio Code. I'm sure most of you have heard of it or used it. And I'm going to talk about what we do for autonomous database users. So first of all, we have a free extension called Oracle Developer Tools for VS Code. And this is available in the Visual Studio Marketplace. Just like VS Code, it runs on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. And we have great features for autonomous database that I will demo for you in just a second, like exploring and lifecycle management. But we also have great features for SQL and PL/SQL developers. You can edit your SQL, PL/SQL. We have autocomplete, IntelliSense. We integrate with Visual Studio Code's wonderful debugger. And there's actually a video that you can watch that I did for that I've done for CloudWorld with a deep dive into this debugger. And finally, things like hover, go to definition, and go to implementation. So let me go ahead and give you a demo of Visual Studio Code in our extension. So let me show you Visual Studio Code here. And all you have to do to get our free extension is come here to the marketplace, type in Oracle, and it will just be there for you to install. It takes a minute or two to get it installed, and you're ready to go. I happen to be working on a Python app. You caught me in the middle of a project here, but we do have a little database icon here, which is where you want to go to look at your cloud resources and your database resources. So let's talk about Oracle Cloud Infrastructure here, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure node that we expose. All right, so the very first time you do this, you're going to want to click on this little gear here, and it'll take you to a web page that'll show you what you need to do to get started. But I've already done that, and so let me just show you some of the things you can do from here. So for example, I can change my compartment and region. I can also, once I've gone to the region or compartment where my resources are, I can take a look at some of the menus that are hanging off of here, such as create a new autonomous database. So let's take a look at how that works. So if I do that, it will just bring up a dialog, and all I need to provide is a password. Hopefully I type it correctly so I don't have to go back. With a little bit of luck, if I type the password correctly, which looks like I chose always free on accident, and I already have one, so I'm not allowed to do that twice. So let's try one more time. Okay, start the creation process. And with a little luck, you can sit over here. It's starting up and it has a little yellow ball which says that it's in process. So what are some of the other things that you can do? Let's see. So I have a already created always free database here. So you can take a look at some of the menu options that are hanging off of here. So I can start, I can stop, I can terminate the instance, I can change the password, and I can change from using wallets to connect to not using wallets. But the really key feature here is that I can easily create a connection in Database Explorer and go and explore that database. So right now I'm using walletless connectivity, which means I just have a connect string, and it opens up the connection dialog, asks for my username and password. And did I mistype the password? Let's see. No, I didn't. I got it right. So I now have a connection to my database here. Now, before we, let me just quickly show you a couple things that we can do from a Database Explorer besides obviously exploring your table data and your stored procedures and such. I can actually just open up a new SQL file and start typing SQL. It's automatically connecting to this database. So, for example, select last name. Say last name, but this is showing the autocomplete. First name from employees, and I can just click this little button here to execute it, and it'll show me my data. One last thing I'd like to show, because we have very limited time, I'd like you to hopefully come in here, download it, and give it a try. But one last thing I'd like to show is that you can get connection strings from here, for example. So when Alex goes and gives a demo for you, he's going to show you how to use the web console to get your connection string to the Oracle Autonomous Database. But if you want, you don't even have to go to the web console. You can get it right here from Visual Studio Code. Basically, we tried to keep you here in Visual Studio Code for as long as you wish to be. You do not need to leave to go to the web console for any reason. So, so that's Visual Studio Code. Now let's go back and talk about the other common development environment, which is Visual Studio. So Visual Studio, as you know, has been around for years, and uh, it's also it's also part of the has a Visual Studio marketplace. It's primarily for Windows developers. Some Java developers use it, other programming languages, but primarily for Windows. And So we have a free extension for this as well. And it's also in the Visual Studio Marketplace and has very similar features, as you can see here, to what we offer in Visual Studio Code. So, again, we have a PL SQL debugger. We let you edit and execute SQL and PL SQL. We support exploring your autonomous database and lifecycle management of autonomous database. So with that, let's go and show you that in action. So this is Visual Studio. And when you come here, you just need to go to Manage Extensions. And if you type in Oracle, you will see Oracle Developer Tools for Visual Studio, which you can then install right here. Okay. Once you have it installed, you will notice that there's now an Oracle Cloud Infrastructure node. And one of the things that hangs off of that is sign up for Oracle Cloud and also add a new account entry. The very first time you do this and you go to add a new account entry, there's a link here that will tell you how to get started. So you don't have to type in all these values. It'll automatically be done for you if you follow that link. Okay, but I've already connected here. And so as you can see, very similar to what we had with Visual Studio Code, I have my autonomous, I can change my compartments using a dialog, find my resources. And then once I'm in here, I can create a new autonomous database. And with a little luck, if I type the password correctly, it'll start showing up here. And it's starting up. And then let's see. So again, we have the My Always Free instance here. And very similar to what is available on Visual Studio Code, we have menu items here, such as start, stop. We have clone, terminate, update credentials, upgrade this to a paid instance since it's always free, and download credentials file since in this particular case, I'm set up to use wallets. So this time, I'm going to also create a data connection because as you can see, Server Explorer has a data connections node. So I want to explore my database. So I can just say create data connection. And now this time I'm configured to use wallets. So I'll continue. I already have the files installed, so I'll just leave it like that. And I'll go ahead and provide my password. Test the connection. Hopefully it will work. Yes, it does. And then from here, I can explore my my database just like I did with Visual Studio Code. I seem to be having a little performance issue here opening this node, but basically you can explore the database directly here. You can open up your tables, view your PL SQL, edit and run PL SQL. So I can open up a query window here and execute a SQL statement, look at the values, basically everything that you would expect here from Visual Studio. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Alex to continue to talk about developing with Azure.
Thanks, Christian. So I'm going to do a demo for how to use, an example of how to use, say, Azure Web Apps with Oracle Autonomous Database. We are seeing that's fairly common since, it's a common scenario in which we have a .NET, ASP.NET Core platform as a service, which is commonly used in Microsoft Azure with Oracle Autonomous Database. So why don't I show you that and how you will create a first we'll create an ASP.NET Core web app connected to Oracle Autonomous Database, and then deploy that to Azure and have that end-to-end connectivity to demonstrate for you. Here we are in Visual Studio. We're going to create a very simple ASP.NET Core web application that connects to Oracle Autonomous Database. We're going to first run this on-premise just to test it out to make sure it works, and then we'll deploy it to Azure so that we have this end-to-end connectivity between web browser to Azure web app to Oracle Autonomous Database, and we can see the cloud-to-cloud integration going on there. So we hit New, Project. Again, we'll keep it simple. It'll be an ASP.NET Core web app, so not much in extra flourishes there. We'll call it My Web App. Say Next. And we'll use the latest .NET 6 long-term support. To keep it simple, we won't use HTTPS. And create. So now we've got a basic web application here. We're going to start adding some code. But first thing we need to do before that is to add ODP.NET Core, since this is ASP.NET Core, and this is the ADO.NET driver that will be used to connect to the Oracle database. So we'll add that. As I right-click the dependencies, we'll choose Manage NuGet Packages. From here, we'll go to Browse and look for oracle.manageddataaccess.core, which is our ODP.NET Core assembly that we use to connect from .NET Core to Oracle database. So we install that, and everything looks fine. There's no errors. And so now we can actually start making some code changes. So we go to the program file, and we've got a basic structure here. We're going to copy over this using some existing code I've developed on GitHub. Here we are in GitHub. We're in Oracle's repository of .NET DB samples. In the sample subdirectory, we have ASP.NET Core 6 application here. And it's a very basic application. All it's doing is connecting to an Oracle database. It can be an autonomous database, or it can be an on-premise database. And it's using ASP.NET Core to go and retrieve some results from a table. In this case, it's the employees table, and return results from that table and show it on the screen. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it. And let's take a look at what we need to do to configure it to connect to our Oracle Autonomous Database. First thing you'll see is that we have a reference to our ODP.NET Core assembly so that it can be used in this project. Next, you can see that off the root directory of the website, we'll be able to start running some code in order to access the Oracle database. And here, we're going to use the HR schema. So we have the user ID HR. We provide the password for that. And then we need to provide a data source. In this case, we're using walletless TLS connections. So all we need to do is provide the TNS information, the connect descriptor information, something like that for the Oracle database connectivity. And we don't need to provide a wallet because we're using walletless TLS. So I'm going to go over to our Autonomous Database Configuration page on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Console. This is the Autonomous Database we're going to connect to, and it's called ATP21C. We click the DB connection button. We go find our connection strings down here, and we're using TLS connections, not mutual TLS. If you use mutual TLS, you will have to use wallets. With TLS, wallets are optional. And so in this case, I'm using walletless TLS. So we click TLS, a different set of connection strings will show up. We can use any of these to connect to the Oracle Autonomous Database. We are going to copy this one here for TB Urgent, and we close that, and let's copy that over to our application. So under data source, we copy that connection string information, that connect descriptor, and that should be all you need for your connection string. So as we continue on, now that we have the connection string, we can actually create the connection with that connection string. So I've done that here. Then you create a command that is part of that connection. Then you just open the connection, and then we do the query to the employees table. We're just gonna select the first name and last name from the employees table where a department ID is equal to some value, In this case, we're going to make that value 50 for this Oracle parameter there. And so it should bring back all the employees from department 50, their first names and last name. We execute that statement and read the results, outputting into the screen. So that's basically it for the code. Let's try running this. And as it runs, we should get a browser, and the browser will return the employees from department 50, and we can see all of them listed here. As you can see, we're running this locally, but it's going against an Oracle Autonomous Database so that we see it works successfully. Now what we'll do is we'll deploy this to Azure App Service and get this running end-to-end from a multi-cloud environment where we're going from Azure to the Oracle Cloud. So back in Visual Studio, we just have to use the deployment wizard that comes with Visual Studio. So we hit publish as we right click on the project. And here you get to decide where you want to publish to. We're publishing to Azure. We hit next. And you can choose what Azure service you want. We're going to choose the Azure App Service on Windows. And then you decide, you choose your subscription name. You'll have to log in normally. I've already logged into Visual Studio, so it knows my username. The subscriptions I have, the resource group, the search, and which app service instance you want to use. So we're going to create one here. And it just creates a name for it, appends the date and timestamp. And then, again, the subscription name, the resource group. And then in the hosting plan, because we're using walletless TLS, we don't need wallets, and we don't need, say, a basic hosting plan in order to, say, host it on your file system. We can use a free Azure App Service connecting to our free autonomous database, of course. And that way you have, as a developer, a great end-to-end usage, being able to use both Azure and Oracle Cloud resources together, all for free. So we choose that sizing as free, the free instance. We say OK. We'll start the creation process, and Visual Studio will then start creating the infrastructure needed for this app service. Once the files are deployed to Azure, we'll need to allow Azure to connect to our Oracle Autonomous Database. To do that, we'll find out Azure's outgoing IPs. Let's see, it's finished, so we say finish, and we will close the publish profile creation, and we'll publish. As Azure needs to connect to the Oracle Autonomous Database, we need to allow the IPs of that Azure uses to connect. So I didn't stop debugging before, so it wants me to stop debugging, which is fine, since we deployed this locally, or we ran this locally, and so it wants me to stop that. And we can see the publish continue. But as I was saying before, as it's deploying all the files, because we're using walletless, the Oracle Autonomous Database wants to ensure that all the connections that are incoming are from allowed IP addresses. So we have to allow those Azure IPs to be used with Oracle Autonomous Database. This is different from connections that require wallets, since as long as you have the wallet, you should have that permission to connect to Oracle Autonomous Database, but because we're using walletless connections, it needs that extra security validation to ensure that this IP is allowed to connect. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we are in Azure console, and I'm going to refresh my account's resources, and we can see that the web app has been created. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the IP addresses it uses for outgoing connectivity. So we'll scroll down here to the properties window, and we can see that the outbound IP addresses are listed here under outbound IP addresses. We'll copy that. Now that it's copied, we'll go to the network access control list, and we'll append those to the existing IPs. And as you can see, I have my local IP address there already, which is how I was able to connect to Autonomous Database for my machine. But now we're adding the Azure IP addresses so that this specific Azure web instance can connect to my Autonomous Database. So now that's being updated. You'll see that the system will update so that those IP addresses can be used. And then when it's done, we will then go and connect to the Oracle Autonomous Database from the web application. Now let's go back and try it out. We'll hit browse, and you can see that it works successfully. We've been able to bring back those same results that we saw locally, but now from Azure. This is a public website. You can see it's the My Web App plus the timestamp and date. It connects to Azure, which retrieves the data from Oracle Autonomous Database in the Oracle Cloud, brings it back to this web browser. So hopefully you've learned quite a bit in this session. We've shown you uh, how to use Oracle Autonomous Database with Microsoft Azure Web Apps, how to deploy that end to end. We've shown you how to use Visual Studio tools with Oracle Autonomous Database, how to use Visual Studio Code with Oracle Autonomous Database, and a bit about the partnership that Microsoft and Oracle have in our intercloud relationship. If you like more information, you can go to our website, otn.oracle.com/.net. Or if you want some code samples, go to our GitHub site. If you want to follow the latest news, subscribe to our Twitter feed. And then, of course, we have videos for you to demonstrate many of these features on our YouTube site. So I welcome you to try out some of these sites to get some more information. And of course, you can always email us if you have any questions. But I want to thank you for watching this session and code on.